Sometimes, in the absence of women, heterosexual men engaged in homosexual behavior against their nature with other men. This practice, known in Sanskrit as Purushopastripa, is condemned by Vedic literature. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is narrated that at the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma generated the godless class of men from his buttocks, who then forcibly approached him for sex. To appease them, Lord Brahma created Twilight in the form of a beautiful woman who completely captivated their lusty desires. This point of the story is important to note because it clearly demonstrates that the demons were not members of the third sex. This type of apparent homosexual behavior between first gender males, as seen in prisons, for instance, where there are no females available, is considered demoniac and is not for any sane male in the ordinary course of life. It should not be confused with the natural homosexuality described in the Kama Shastra and practiced by people belonging to the third sex, acting according to their nature and with affection. Men who indulge in all types of sexual intercourse without restriction are known in Sanskrit as Sarva Abhigam. In a verse from the Mahabharata, Lord Shiva explains to goddess Parvati why some men are born with severe physical handicaps such as blindness, chronic illness, or without proper sex organs as neuters. In his answer to the latter category, Lord Shiva describes the fate of heterosexual men who engage in unrestricted sex. Those foolish males who have intercourse in the wombs of lower-class women or animals, Vayoni, are born again as neuters. A similar verse from the Narada Purana states that first-gender males who have intercourse in non-wombs, Ayoni, take their next births as neuters after suffering in hell. The idea is that heterosexual males, Pums, Purusha, have the prescribed duty in life to marry women and produce offspring, and any neglect of this duty is said to incur sin. This is not, however, the duty of men belonging to the third sex, Napums, because they are impotent with women by nature and therefore not expected to procreate. The Narada Smriti specifically states that homosexual men are incurable and should not be married to women. Procreation was not their prescribed duty or dharma under Vedic scriptural law. Social morality. It is said that a society can be judged by how it treats its minorities and gentler classes. In Vedic civilization, the cows, the Brahmins, the women, and those belonging to the neutral gender, children, the elderly, the impotent, the celibate, and the third sex, were all offered protection as an important social principle. In modern times, however, everything is topsy-turvy, and thus these groups are now ridiculed, exploited, persecuted, and even killed, often under government sanction. I couldn't agree with this more. This is exactly what is going on in almost every country. The ones who are most exploited are the cows, the women, I would say the saintly persons, or called Brahmins, and the neutral genders, which are children, elderly, impotent, celibate, and the third sex, the homosexuals, gays and lesbians. And this is exactly opposite from what is supposed to be. So it is supposed to be in human civilization that those classes are protected, not exploited, persecuted, or killed. In Vedic society, people were familiar with the third sex and could normally recognize its characteristics within their offspring. Since everyone was accommodated under the Vedic system, third gender youths could find their place within society according to their nature and thus grow healthfully into adulthood, In modern society, however, people are afraid to even discuss third sex issues. Parents deny that their children are gay and try to force them to be straight. This causes psychological harm because it is against the child's nature and creates friction and the fear of disappointing the parents. In school, third gender children are ostracized by others and abused both verbally and physically. During adolescence, when others are dating and learning how to form relationships, third gender youths are isolated and forced to hide their nature out of fear or shame. Alienated and confused in this way, they contemplate suicide, and it has been found that the suicide rate for gay teens is 4 times higher than that of their heterosexual peers. Those reaching adulthood are discriminated against in the workforce, legally denied housing, scorned when they couple, and forbidden the joys of marriage, shunned by their relatives and society at large. People of the third sex are forced into self-denial, often under the threat of criminal prosecution. The most remarkable aspect of this gross mistreatment of third sex people in modern times is that it is all being done under the banner of so-called morality and religion. These citizens are rejected as immoral and undeserving of human rights solely on the basis of their romantic and sexual nature, which many people mistakenly consider to be merely a choice. This type of social rejection and mistreatment is due to ignorance. Not understanding the nature of the third sex, people become suspicious and fearful of their differences. This produces bigotry, which then festers into hatred and eventually violence. The disrespect and persecution of the third sex is a clear sign of Kali Yuga, or the modern era of irreligion and hypocrisy described in Vedic literatures. Under the Vedic system, these citizens were symbols of good luck. They were protected and would bestow their blessings upon society. The fact that they are now mistreated and oppressed can be seen as an omen of bad times, and it is a poor measure of our humanity. It is a common misconception among some that in Kali Yuga there is an increase in the ratio of homosexual people. Having researched this thoroughly, I have yet to find any Vedic verse supporting this claim. Rather, in the Vayu Purana, it is stated, "In the Kali Yuga there will be more women than men." The foremost symptom of the Kali Yuga described is a marked increase in promiscuity among people of all genders. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that when irreligion is prominent, women become exploited and produce unwanted progeny, which then destroy the family tradition and become harmful to society at large. While homosexual promiscuity can lead to disease for those involved, heterosexual promiscuity is ensued by disease, adultery, unwanted children, contraception, divorce, broken families, abortion, and so many social problems that directly affect the lives of other members of society. For this reason, the Dharma Shastra and other Vedic literatures strictly enforced the institution of marriage among heterosexual couples for the maintenance of the social structure. Homosexuality, on the other hand, was not taken as seriously under Vedic law and was not considered to be a social threat. As a natural gender, the third sex has maintained a relatively fixed presence within human society since time immemorial. Despite varying social policies, indeed, its members will exist wherever there are males and females themselves, and this will be true regardless of any fear, rejection, or hate that we may project upon and cause them to suffer. For our own good, therefore, and by following the Vedic example of social morality and acceptance, we should respect and treat all living entities equally without consideration of gender. All right, that is basically the end of this series. So, I will just now say my final thoughts about this. I strongly believe that all living beings, all living entities should be treated equally and with respect. And this means all types of human beings, including the third sex, and all types of animals, all types of plants and trees and insect life, everything should be respected, just like Buddhism teaches. Lord Buddha taught to respect all life. And in fact, the third sex is respected in Buddhism. Buddhism seems to be the only other religion besides the ancient Vedic culture that very openly and widely embraces all of humanity, and including the third sex, as a natural part of life. And that's the way it really should be today. In every single country upon earth, the third sex should be very much accepted and protected in society, and given all facilities to have marriage, to live openly their lives, not be shunned, and especially protect the young children who are just discovering themselves and finding out about themselves, learning about themselves, and they should be very much protected in their quest for self knowledge about their bodies and what they're attracted to and everything. So yeah, I'm so disappointed in the way that human beings today are condemning the third sex and how much suffering this is causing to so many people. As it stated here, the research is showing that it's like 1 in 20 births that are homosexual. It's a natural part of life, and it always has been. And there's no increase in the amount of homosexuality. It's the same as it's always been. It's a natural part of life. People are born male, people are born female, and people are born of the third sex. And this is natural. And so there needs to be laws to protect the third sex in every country. There needs to be laws to protect their lives. There needs to be open marriages, marriage ceremonies, and everything that needs to be just for ordinary people, accommodating them. And I would like to see this advance more and more, that laws would accommodate them. And I just really despise any religion that is going against them. I really, really despise any type of religion that is claiming them to be sinful people, and that is claiming them to be, they're outcasts, they shouldn't be around us, they're horrible, and all this kind of stuff. Any religion that's claiming these people to be shunned and ridiculed and all that and punished, I absolutely despise. I have no respect. I have no respect for any religion who's not treating all people equally. And any moral system and any government and any laws that are not treating people equally, I totally despise it. And that's it. That's my final thoughts. I feel that as human beings, we should have compassion for all life, for all living entities, and that includes all the types of human beings. And there's many types of human beings. And we should appreciate them just like the different flavors of ice cream, the different colors of the rainbow. And that is the beauty of life, that we're all different. We're all born with our own unique nature. Thanks for listening, everyone, and you all have a beautiful day.